Hi and welcome back to the channel, and in this week's video we're going to share the cost of living off-grid in rural Spain. I think you'd be surprised.
So before we get into the detail of the month-to-month costs, we just wanted to touch a little bit on how much it actually costs to buy property in Spain. Clearly it's, we might live here for free, but we had to buy the property in the first place. We did a little bit of research, and a property of this sort of size, about 120 square metres with 3 acres of land, in the UK costs anywhere upwards of £500,000 to whatever you want to pay for it, depending on where you go. And I can assure you that this costs considerably less than that. There are properties all over Spain, particularly inland, that you can pick up for under 100k, under 50k if you're happy to do some work, of this sort of size with this sort of amount of land. You do have to pay some associated costs when you purchase property in Spain. In our region, the Valencia region, it's 10%, it's called a property transfer tax, and that's what you need to pay alongside things like solicitors' costs and so on. So it's worth checking all that out before you make the move.
Now, Izzy suggested that we live here for free. Well, you don't live anywhere for free.
Almost.
There are associated costs, and one of our costs is our council tax bill, which is the SUMA. Now, we live in a very rural location. It's called the Campo, so we're in the middle of the countryside. We don't exactly have many services. Our annual SUMA bill is €30, so that works out about €2.50 a month. Now, it does seem a bit ridiculous, but it's based on the size of the property, the location, the region. Anything else?
Yeah, the utilities you receive. So yeah. There's no street lights here, or
that covers
sweeping, or
that covers the rubbish. So we don't have a bin, so you take your rubbish to the bin.
But that's the same for everybody in this area. Nobody has a separate bin, do they?
Yeah, and we quite like it actually, because it, particularly when it's hot like it is now, you bag up your rubbish and you effectively get rid of it. So yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, and we love the fact that it only costs us €2.50 a month.
Yeah. Now, in terms of electricity, we actually generate all our own power. Now, yes, it's free, except it's not free because clearly you need a system to harness that power in the first instance. And we run a Victron system. Now, the system itself actually would cost about €12,000 to set up.
But as Phil alluded to, we have a lot of sunshine here. Spain is the perfect place if you want to run an off-grid power system. But in the winter, because we're in the mountains, we do sometimes have spells where it's a bit foggy, we're not quite getting enough power in, so we have a generator as well. The generator needs diesel to run it. Is it diesel or petrol?
Diesel,
It is diesel. You can tell that I use it regularly. And that needs upkeep as well. So there are those associated ongoing costs. The system that we have, the batteries, you're probably looking at a 10-year lifespan there. So if you want to replace them, which we did a couple of years ago, you're talking about maybe €1,000 a battery. And we added some new panels this year as well. So it's not free, but it is free from a month-to-month basis. Like most people that live remotely in Spain, we use bottled gas. Is it propane that we have?
Butane.
Butane. You can tell I don't go and buy it very often either. And we use that gas for our water heater, so all of our hot water for washing up and showering. And we have a gas oven and hob, so for all of our cooking. And we also have a barbecue outside. And in the house, we have a little, very traditional sort of Spanish gas heater that heats small rooms up periodically if we don't want to have the fire on, for example. A gas bottle here, the government does cap the price, is between 18 and €20.
Well, it's regulated, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not capped, maybe regulated.
The cost is regulated.
Yeah. And we can either go down to our local town and swap our gas bottle over, or we can leave our gas bottle at the top of our drive, and when the man comes past on a Thursday, he will just swap it over for us. So they make it really, really easy for you, because I suppose so many people use gas bottles here.
But to give you an idea, the cost of a large gas bottle is about €18. Sometimes it's about €17, depending. So there's two main brands, Repsol and Cepsa. And I don't think I've actually ever paid, in all the time I've been here, more than 20 euros. And I think recently in the UK, you're certainly paying about 50 quid for the equivalent
Yeah.
size gas bottle.
And we use one a month.
We do.
Approximately, you know, the biggest amount that we use really is for hot water, so it doesn't much change.
Right now
every
it's
year.
18 euros a bottle, which I think is exceptionally good value.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of heating, we did touch on the gas fire, but our primary heat source is a log burning stove, and we're in the perfect place for it really, because we have so much free wood. But again, it's not free. Clearly, there's associated costs. You need a chainsaw, for example. You need to run fuel in terms of your car and the tractor and trailer, and so on. And I suppose there's my time as well.
Yes,
Although I
exactly.
sort of see that as free.
But you do actually quite enjoy going out and finding logs and chopping them, don't you?
I do. It's like a bit of therapy for me, to be honest with you.
If we were to buy logs, and there is a chap locally that sells them, I think it's about 150
It was about 140 for softwood and about 170 for hardwood.
for a ton.
For a cubic meter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long would that last us?
Not very long. To give it, well, the hardwood obviously burns for longer. So 170 for the hardwood, that would probably only last us less than a month.
Yeah. And bear in mind, we're at 650 metres of altitude here, so winter comes a bit sooner than it does elsewhere. And although we have gorgeous days, at night it can get really cold. So we have the stove going probably for 5 months of the year. Sometimes for a couple of those middle winter months it's going all day, every day, and we try and keep it going all night as well. So we do actually use a lot of wood.
So what tends to happen is, once it gets to about sort of 4 o'clock, 4:30, at the shortest day, if you like, then we do lose the sun over the mountain, and it's like a light switch.
Yeah.
So you can really feel it when you're out in the ground, out in the land, and then you sort of think, what's happened? There's a really notable difference in the temperature.
Yeah. It's
And
quite hard to imagine that right now though, isn't it?
And although the house is fine during the day, I mean, it quickly cools down.
Yeah.
There's no insulation in the house. And
The fabric gets cold quite quickly.
you need the fire on. But that one little log burner does actually heat up the whole house.
It does.
So we're at the top of our land right now because we're going to talk about water. So right underneath where we stood is our freshwater tank. Now it's a 10,000 litre tank, and it provides water to the house through a means of gravity, and that's for our drinking water, our showering, basically our entire water needs.
But we do have to fill that tank, and there are two ways that we can do that. We can have the water delivered, which is really easy. It's about 0.2 cents a litre if we do it that way. Or Phil can go with the car and the trailer and the bowser on the trailer and pick up water from our local spring. It's much nicer water, and actually that costs 0.0008 cents a litre. But there are associated costs, so you need to have a trailer, you need a tow bar on the car, there's diesel to go and fetch it, there's the wear and tear on the vehicle, and of course there's Phil's time. And how long does it take you to do what we call a water run?
Well, I normally set aside about 4 hours, and I can fill the tank in that time, and that will last us about 8 to 10 weeks, depending on the time of year. We use a bit more water in the summer months. The winter, 10 weeks, thereabouts. You know, we're used to living off-grid
Yes.
in the truck.
We're
and
quite
so
careful.
We're careful.
Yeah, and you don't have much else to do with your time anyway,
Oh
do
no,
you,
just
really?
sit here idle really, drinking beer.
Just making a YouTube video every week. And,
That's it.
Now, in terms of water, there are other options such as a borehole or rainwater harvesting, and I'll talk about those in a future video.
So when you live remotely like this, internet is really, really critical. Not just for our business, but we like to get an hour of television of whatever thing we're watching a night, so we stream a lot as well. When we first moved in here, we had a very old-fashioned satellite internet system that had masses of latency. It was with the dishes still there, it was capped to 150 gig a month, which was nowhere near enough for us. We were trying to rely a little bit on using our phones, but we're actually in a dip in the middle of two towers, so that doesn't always work either.
Yeah.
And then the revelation of Starlink came, and so we now have a system that works seamlessly between the house and the truck. We have a removable, what's it called? Thing on top of the truck.
We have a housing.
The word housing. That's
We have
right.
a fixed housing
Yeah.
on the truck.
But we can remove the dish from it and put it on the ground outside the house. We have permanent wiring in the truck and the house, so we just clip it into one or clip it into the other, and it works seamlessly. It costs €72 a month on a Roam plan. If you were to do a residential plan here, it would be €40 a month. So we think that's really exceptional value for money.
And the quality as well. The download speed.
Oh, there's no
is
latency.
superb.
You move the mouse and something happens. You don't have to wait 2 minutes for it to catch up with itself. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. So at some point, I will remove our old satellite dish.
When we first came to Spain 6 years ago, grocery shopping was probably for a weekly shop about 25% cheaper than it was in the UK. But we've really noticed since coming back this time that the prices here have gone up exponentially, and they're much closer to UK prices now. Having spent a year back in the UK building the truck, we've got a fairly good idea of what things cost, and my weekly shop here now is not far off, maybe 10% cheaper than it would be in the UK. The other thing here is that they don't really have the deals, so we tend to shop at Mercadona and Lidl, which are already discount supermarkets, but there aren't any buy one get one free. There's no club card. There's no scheme where you can save money. So I would say it's pretty much sort of on a par. But there are areas where you can save. Not that we drink a lot of alcohol, but certainly wine here, wine and gin is a lot cheaper.
So I'm trying to keep a straight face. But
Seen our stash there.
A bottle of wine, for example, you can buy a bottle of wine, a half decent bottle of wine, for €2 or €3, €4. A bottle of gin, €6, €7, €8.
You don't have to spend a lot of money on alcohol, which obviously for us makes no difference because we don't drink very much. You can go out and eat very cheaply, so you can have a really good menu del dia, menu of the day, for maybe 10 or 12 euros in a local restaurant. The quality of the food and the cooking will be really good. And coffee, we went out for coffee and cake the other morning after going to the supermarket, and we paid just under €5. You won't pay more than €2 for a coffee here. So, there are balances.
Yeah. Small beer, for example, locally, you pay about 80 cents to €1 for a small draft beer, which is pretty exceptional, really.
Yeah, and you can go out and have breakfast for a couple of euros, really. Not expensive. So we weigh one up against the other.
Take 448.
And there's too many numbers. We wanted to give you a breakdown of all of the costs that we've talked about throughout the video in one place. So from the top, in terms of utilities, we spend €18 a month on a gas bottle, €2.50 on water, and €2.50 on our SUMA, which is the equivalent of our council tax. So our utilities are €23 a month. We spent €72 on Starlink, by far our biggest cost in the month, but really critical, especially if you're going to live remotely. And then we have costs associated with running a car, so tax and insurance, and that's €35 a month. So our total monthly costs come in at €130. Times that by 12, and that gives us an annual cost of €1,560. Now that annual cost is actually about 30% of the monthly cost of running a house in the UK for us when we owned a property in the UK. And fair enough, there was a mortgage on that, but still the difference between, in terms of utilities and things like council tax is actually quite shocking. When you also take into account the quality of life in Spain, the freedom that we have, the way that we live and work, for us, Spain far, far, far outweighs the UK as a place that we want to live. It depends what you're looking for, but it's definitely been the right decision for us moving to Spain.
Well, it's always interesting talking about numbers, and it's actually a good little exercise for us as well to really refresh and break it all down. And I hope you enjoyed this week's video. That is it for now, and thank you for all the support on the channel. And if you do have any questions, then by all means leave us a comment. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and of course we will see you next time round. Bye for now.
So over a year it costs us $1,506. Sorry.
Take 312. Take 333. Take 339.
Too many numbers. Right, we wanted to give you a breakdown of all the costs in one place, because although we've talked about them through the video, we thought it'd be helpful just to have them. Oh no, fucking stop!